What if I told you that you can make this delicious and extremely nutritious syrup with ingredients from your own backyard right now? I promise you don't need any special equipment. It's so simple and so fun. Your kids would love it. Let me show you how. Although we usually think of them as a stubborn lawn weed, dandelions are actually highly nutritious plants that are loaded with vitamins, minerals, and fiber. One of its best benefits is actually for heart health. There are actually several ways to consume the various parts of the dandelion, but today we're going to be making a syrup from the flowers, sometimes called poor man's honey.
I got some more, Mommy!
Wow, you're doing so good. Thank you.
Oh, let me smell. Ooh, it smells like honey.
My children's favorite part of this activity is picking the flowers from our lawn. It's important to make sure that you are picking from a lawn that wasn't sprayed by chemicals. We've got several acres of yard, so we usually just pick flowers until my kids are tired of it. But once you are done with that, the next step is to remove the heads from the stems.
Yes.
Okay, these are the instructions. Are we listening?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We need to take the flower, take off the stem. Oh, is there no stem on that one? Good, then that one goes right in. Perfect.
And, okay, let's find one.
And let's put the stems on the table when we're done.
That one.
Good.
Here we go. Here's a
Perfect.
flower.
Yes. Take off the stem.
And
Perfect.
Put them in the box.
That's right. Doing a great job.
This one doesn't have a stem on it.
Good. Then it goes right in the bowl.
That one didn't have a stem on it. Whoa. This is fun, Mommy.
Is it?
This is fun, Mommy.
Is it so fun?
Yeah, no. I got it. Whoa, we can sell it. Yeah.
What are we making?
Honey. Honey.
Dandelion honey.
If consuming dandelions really interests you, I do know that there are people who make root coffee from the dandelion stems. So you can certainly go ahead and give that a try. I haven't done that yet, but maybe someday I will. And after all of the dandelions have been destemmed, it is really important to make sure that they get a good wash. So rinse them down. I don't use soap or anything, just water. Give them a good thorough rinse. And then we place them on a towel to dry. Usually takes a few hours before they're ready for the next step. I think my favorite part about this whole process is that it doesn't all need to be done at one time. If you've got to take a break to do something, there are several opportunities for you to just leave it and then come back to it, and there's no time frame for it to be ruined or anything like that. So I thoroughly appreciate that as a mom of 4. Once the flower heads are all dry, you need to separate the green part from the yellow flower petals. The green parts of the flour are pretty bitter, so you actually want as little green in the actual syrup part as possible. So I found the easiest way to go about separating them was to use a scissors, but you can see my daughter is actually plucking the yellow petals from the flour at some points. I do go back in and I remove some of the green that did escape and is in the strainer before we go ahead to the next step as well. Now that you've separated all of the petals from the flower heads, you just go ahead and put those into a pot, add some water. The more water you add, the more diluted the syrup is, so I usually just kind of eyeball it, and then I go ahead and put that on the stove and boil it for about 2 to 3 minutes. And then once it is at a boil, I will go ahead and turn it off and let it sit overnight to kind of steep like a tea. The next morning was kind of a slow start for us, but it can be like that when you have a newborn. As a side note, my kids are getting pretty addicted to these fruit leathers I bought while prepping last year as a snack. They have really good ingredients. I'll link them down below if you're interested in checking them out yourself. And now that these flower petals have steeped overnight, this liquid is really a interesting green yellow color. Taking out all the petals into the strainer, and then just to make sure I've gotten all of the good juice out, I am going ahead and I'm squeezing those petals just to get all that remaining goodness out of them till I'm left with just a petal wad. And then we are going to go ahead and take that liquid back to the stove, and we're going to bring that to a simmer. And while that's being brought to temperature, I am adding a cup of sugar to enhance the sweetness and make it appetizing for my kids. You don't certainly have to add the sugar. You could add a sugar alternative. One thing I do plan on doing in the future is reducing the amount of sugar every time I make it. Once their taste buds are acclimated to the taste of the dandelion, I think it makes sense to just add less and less sweetener until you're left with maybe just dandelion and a tiny amount of sweetener. But you can do what you choose to do for this step. But again, once that sweetener is added, then I just go ahead and let it get to temperature. I do continue to stir it pretty frequently so that the sugar doesn't burn. And then you just kind of want to keep it at a boil until the liquid reduces down to the consistency that you're looking for. It does get thicker as it cools, so I tend to take mine off of the burner kind of at a thinner consistency, knowing that it's going to cool off and get thick. I let it cool down a decent amount in the pot, and then I do pour it into a jar to kind of finish cooling off, and of course I keep the lid off of it while it is cooling. You can see the steam coming off of there. But then, once it's cooled, all that's really left to do is make a delicious waffle or pancake to put it on.